everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm planning with this kit from the Pretty Pink Co. It's called Frost. It's in silver foil. It's definitely a wintry feeling kit with lots of grays, dark blues. Their reformat includes lots of fancy boxes, layering pieces, headers. Love the washi too with the little snowflakes. And I also got the deco sheet. I'll be putting down my headers and washi, and we'll be right back. Okay, I am back, and I thought since this is my first official plan with me for the year that I would answer some kind of reflection questions for the new year. So like thinking back to the previous year and thinking ahead to the new year. I picked up some journaling questions that I have been thinking about from my own journaling. If you all follow my Instagram, you'll know that I have started a gratitude journal practice, and so journal pretty regularly. But yeah, so the first question on my list is, what was the single best thing that happened this past year? And so much happened this past year, meaning 2021. I moved apartments, I changed jobs, we had another year of the pandemic. I finally saw my parents for the first time in over 18 months. And yeah, a lot happened. I'd say the single best thing that happened this year was the birth of my niece, Marlo. She is, such a joy to be around, and it's pretty surprising to me because, honestly, I would not have considered myself a baby person. I, have had complicated feelings around having kids for most of my life, but, wasn't always the first to like rush and coo over a baby when someone else would bring a baby into work, or, yeah. I also think this may have been due to the fact that I didn't have anyone who I was super close with who had a baby. Like, it was coworkers and like acquaintances, not really close friends. So I never really had, I guess, maybe as much of a deep emotional attachment as I would say I do to my niece. I love her, and I think I feel what they mean when they say like, when you have a kid, this like fierce protective thing comes out where you're like, listen, I would jump in between this child in a moving vehicle. And I kind of feel that way with my niece. Like, I feel myself instinctively being like, listen, like, nobody better mess with her. There's a woman at her daycare who her daycare makes little videos during the day to like show off how the kids are doing and what activities they're doing with them. And there's this woman, she does this little sing-songy voice. She's like, "Hi, Marlo." And Marlo always frowns. And I'm like, listen, can this lady leave my niece alone? But I think being able to also see her with my mom has been a really joyful experience. This is my mom's first grandchild, so she's getting spoiled rotten. But it's just it takes our family, I think, there's like a different layer, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but it's been awesome, getting to spend time with her and just watching her grow up. She's not yet a year, she's only 10 months, but just watching her grow from being this tiny infant to being this, almost 1-year-old with a personality that's beginning to form. Like, I kind of can't wait to see what she's like. When she starts talking, can actually tell us how she's feeling and what she's thinking. So that was the single best thing that happened this year. What was the single most challenging thing that happened? So I'd say the single most challenging thing that happened was changing jobs. In some respects, I feel bad for my boyfriend because he's been with me now through 2 job changes, and they were not easy. Neither of them were easy. It's always challenging, I think, to change jobs. You know, you've got to leave, the comfort of your old job where you pretty much knew things. Depending on how long you've been there, you feel very comfortable, to starting something new, being the quote unquote new kid, not really knowing, how people do things yet, or just learning, different norms. My new company that I've joined, I would say it's been challenging to work there. It's just very, very different from any other place I've worked. And it's taken me, some time to get used to. It's been a bit of a bumpy ride, I would say. And it's been really, really challenging to just get adjusted and get up and rolling. And yeah, it's been super challenging. So that was definitely the most challenging thing that happened this last year. So pick 3 words to describe this past year. This is going to be hard because, as I said, a lot of things happened. But it was also, I think I felt also a little bit of stagnation, even though, like I said, I moved apartments, I changed jobs, I finally got to see my family. I traveled to LA a bunch of times for work. I would say I felt like I haven't really done that much. Maybe it's because so much of my time, is spent at home that I'm like, I didn't really do very much. So the first word that came to mind when I read this, pick 3 words to describe the past year, is kind of boring. So boring would be one word. The second word would also be fast-paced, because when I think about it, it was like I was looking at apartments in January and February, and then I moved in March. And it was very, very quickly, end of March, beginning of April. And then I quit my job the month after I moved into my apartment. So even though I know my first word was boring, things kind of happened boom, 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 really quickly, one after another when they started happening. So boring, but also fast paced. So I say there's long periods of not much changing, and then a few months of a ton of things changing. The third word I would use to describe this past year has been educational or informative, because I think I've spent a lot of time getting to know myself and learning more about, what my thought and behavior patterns are. And some of them, that can be really positive, and some of them that can be really negative. I've been working with an executive coach for the last half of last year. And, we started off our working relationship with her saying the art of managing is managing oneself. And I've been thinking about that a lot, reflecting on that, multiple times last year and this year. And so, yeah, I'd say that I really, dug deep into some challenging things, challenged myself, challenged some of the kind of old ways of thinking that I have been employing with situations. And I'm you're in a new role, you're in a new company, you have a chance to do something different and to think about things differently, approach things differently. So I would say boring, fast-paced, and educational/informative were the 3 words. Very, very complex set of emotions there. What was your single biggest time waster in your life this past year? And I guess I would say, this is going to be kind of an unconventional answer, but I would say I wasted a lot of time regretting things. I'm a big let's take a ton of time to research the change that we're about to make. let's think about it for a while, you know, but I also don't linger. So I do my homework, but I'm like, okay, this is good enough. Let's go. And sometimes, you know, when I make a decision, I end up like going back and feeling a lot of regret about it. And I think I spent a lot of time regretting some of the decisions that I made this year when, you know, the fact of the matter is that I made them with the best information that I had. Like my apartment, for example. I moved out of a 1-bedroom into a 2-bedroom because I was like, hey, work from home is here to stay. I think I want some more space. They were giving a deal on the rent, so it wasn't going to be too much more expensive than my current place. But when I got in my new place, my dishwasher just doesn't work. They've tried to fix it. Only the dishes on the bottom rack get cleaned, which is really frustrating. I have a neighbor actually my neighbors on both sides have children who are learning to play the piano. So like the piano is going constantly all day long, well into the evening, and it's really just frustrating. I also live on one of the top floors of my apartment. I think the second from the top. And so it takes so long to like get up to my apartment. Previously, I lived on the first floor, so I would just run up the stairs and boom, I would be inside. And now I've got to wait for the elevator. The elevator is broken a couple of times. And so I was like, man, I really regret moving in here. But do I? I mean, I think it's more that I felt like all of these things that were challenges in my new place were like insurmountable without remembering, hey, I wanted to move out of my old place for a reason. I moved out of my old place for the noise was a big thing. Being on the first floor, when garbage trucks come or guys who are like mowing the lawn or leaf blowing or anything, it sounded so loud. It was so loud. It would wake me up out of a sleep. You know, I had a neighbor upstairs who would jump rope first thing in the morning at like 7:30, and no matter how much I went and talked to him about it and said, hey man, can you like do this mid-morning or something, he would just keep jump roping. So there was noise there too. And I didn't really have enough space. You know, I was basically taking meetings in my living room, like right on top of my couch, and didn't really have a space that I felt like was dedicated for work. I wanted a dedicated space for work because I feel like the boundaries between work and home are being collapsed, obviously, with working from home. And so I wanted to be able to like say, this is my workspace and this is my home space, and not let work spill into my home. And so I have that now in my new place. But, you know, sometimes I feel like when I encounter difficulties, I'm like, you shouldn't have done that. You know, you should have just stayed in your old place. And I think it wastes time because I'm here now. I'm here in the new apartment, you know, and yeah, it's annoying, but you know, every place is going to have its annoyances. This is more incentive for me to, you know, save up so I can get a house, so I can be out of apartment living. Not that, you know, house neighbors are not annoying. I'm sure, you know, if you're a homeowner, you can tell me all the stories of your neighbors doing stuff and being loud that you don't like. But yeah, I think I wasted a lot of time just like regretting decisions, and it wasn't productive for me. It didn't help me solve the current issues. So that's what I would say the single biggest time waster in my life was this past year. The best way, so what was the best way you used your time this past year? The best way I used my time, I'd say, was getting deeper into my hobbies and really making friends within my hobbies. So my two big hobbies are nails and planning. This year I really spent time like sort of getting to know people in the community, and I think it's been really, really helpful. You know, it's added another dimension to my life other than work and family. And you know, my relationship with my boyfriend, it's like I have added a kind of different facet of friends, which was so helpful because, you know, since the pandemic, I've been kind of cut off from a lot of my friends that I ordinarily would have seen, or we would have, you know, hung out, it's like everyone's kind of holed up in their homes, and I think we're all a little bit Zoom fatigued. So being like, hey, let's get on a Zoom doesn't exactly sound like, oh yeah, it's so fun, you know? So having another community to turn to when, you know, my previous community were in a bit of a holding pattern till we can see each other, you know, more regularly, is like, has been really, really invaluable, and I think was really, really helpful for maintaining my sanity. So I'm super glad to have met and chatted with everyone I've met on Instagram, on YouTube. I've gotten some YouTube comments that honestly, like, you guys have made me cry a little. When people tell me that they like my content and they find it really helpful, I don't know, I'm always surprised, because I think of myself as like, I don't know, being a little bit of like, I don't know. It's just, it's still surprising to me when people are like kind on the internet. I don't know why. I have no idea why. So without getting too mushy, I have enjoyed, again, connecting with people on social and relationships and building relationships and community in relation to my hobbies. I think that was such a good use of my time, and it's been really, really great for me. Since we're about out of time, I'm going to answer one last one really quickly. The best books I read this year. So the best books I read were a bunch of Raymond Chandler books. So The Maltese Falcon, a bunch of the other ones that I can't remember the names of, but I read them in like such rapid succession. I think I read 3 in like 4 weeks. They were so great. I just love them. I love mysteries. I'm a big Agatha Christie fan, a big Stephen King fan. So like those were some of the best books. And obviously, you know, it seems silly, I can't remember the title, but I read them, I think, in the middle of last year, and yeah, have completely forgotten all the names. But yeah, so that's the end of this spread. Hopefully you all enjoyed some of my reflections from last year. And if you like this video, feel free to click like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.